Yeah. No, yeah, I should be fine.
Alright, so I'm gonna run Zarya.
Yes.
Zarya. Zarya.
Zaria.
I'm gonna run Zarya, okay? You guys, when I use my snare,
Mm.
dump your cooldowns.
Rip.
Which corner you want to hold at? Back here?
Yeah, like right around here.
Yep.
They probably reworked Zarya since the last time I played, I bet.
Well, I already hear their widow, so.
Yep.
Greetings.
Careful. Mm,
It could
They
be
could-
faking us out.
yeah, they could be
Oh
trolling.
man. They could be, but
Okay, let's discuss something off the bat. Let's assume these are the team comps people we're running with. If you're starting here with this much time left, you're actually giving the opponent an opportunity to see you from the upper. So you're revealing half your comp when this is privileged information right now. You have to be a little bit more careful because if they see this and suddenly they're like, oh, I can guess these other three, let's swap to a Farah and a Junkrat and just slowly take over the map with this, then they're going to have an advantage. Like, Ryan Zari isn't exactly abnormal on this map at all, so you're not really giving too much away with that. Hanzo is also pretty standard these days, but if you let them know that you have a Hanzo, usually that means there's a Mercy attached to it, so we can damage boost through Graviton and kill through Trance. And then the next best thing is you probably want a Trance of your own, which we have, and then this is the question mark from here. So we don't quite have the Mercy here, but they can give a rough guess of what you're going to be running from here on out. This last one that boat mode is on will generally either be a hit scan or a brig, a Brigitte to augment the comp either by helping support the front line in the case of Brigitte or by shutting down enemy Farah or enemy Widowmakers with a hit scan pick of your own. Or bolster the damage of the front line by running like a Junkrat. So it's not entirely like detrimental to you to set this up, but now they know you're not running like a Rissa Hog spam comp. They know that they don't need a Lucio necessarily to get in quick before their shield breaks. They might have a guess that if they take high ground control either from here or from here and play a slower game against you, utilizing a ranged or spam advantage over you, that they might be able to push you off a point readily.
I wouldn't.
Don't push me, don't push me.
No, they have a Hanzo.
They have a Hanzo.
Okay.
Okay.
Why don't we just put the corner like we did that last time?
So, we make a few mistakes off the bat. I think our Sonic comes out too late, so we don't get to see them as they rotate around the pillars here with it. Here's their Sonic here. Our shield here is fine. It's actually pretty good, honestly. If anything, I'd set it up a little bit further up so it's an extension of this wall. It doesn't make much of a difference, just so long as your shield's not going down at all. We end up using our orb here from Deathlord to harass a Hanzo up in spawn, which isn't going to do anything. If we had saved it here, we actually get these guys as they come through choke, and actually build ult charge off of it instead of wasting the cooldown. Or if they're coming in really fast, that could be a problem. So if they speed in here and use orb to collect some damage on them here, and they charge into you, you suddenly don't have your own healing orb, which is an issue. So that there is something to think about, but you could at least like try to bank your damage orb off this, so it like ricochets back this way. Or get like a line of sight here as they come out the door, or something like that, if you're really concerned about them rushing you. What I normally want to see is this guy playing up here, along with his tanks to supplement them. He's going to need to be here in the next couple seconds just in case they do a rush this way. And he wants to be in position to assist his Reinhardt. Excelsior is in a decent position. He has a nice sight line going down here. Onizuka, similarly, right next to him, has a good sight line to get off some poke and hopefully some harass, maybe a lucky kill. Coming in. Grape is not quite in position to start the spam war. And we'll see how it progresses.
Yeah, no, this corner is where we should be holding most times.
I like the play by Onizuka to set up sightlines, confirm which way they're going, confirm their comp, jump in and out of the cover provided by this wall to both give his team some lines for spam and to avoid it himself. We end up taking some spam from like Fire Strike and such going in, but it's not that big a deal. Okay. Here's a mistake. And you're probably going to wonder why. So, when you're playing offense, the Zarya bubbles, first and foremost, need to be used for energy. A weak Zarya is of no use on the attack, and you need to get opening picks on the attack or have some other leverage of pushing around a point. For defense, though, particularly in a Brig matchup like this, your bubbles need to be saved heavily for when their Brigitte tries to bully your Rhine. So if they engage in the next, 8 seconds? Maybe it's only 6. Let's check. It's always good to have a good awareness of how long these cooldowns are. Sorry. I think this is a good one. Projected barrier. 6 seconds, 8 seconds. Okay. And is self the 6? Self is 10. That seems a bit higher than I remember. Okay. So if they engage in the next 8 seconds, what they can do, if they're coordinated enough, which granted a team of this level is unlikely to be, they can stun your Reinhardt, and then they can Storm Arrow him, Discord him, Charge Shot him, while damage boosting, and the Rhine either swings or fire strikes. Basically, he goes through all 500 of his health instantly, and he's just dead, and you lose the fight. So by committing this barrier, you're saying that they are not going to engage in the next 8 seconds. And if the enemy team has a Lucio at this point, which you should know because it's been 15 seconds and you can press tab and actually see their whole comp. If I see this barrier, I just charge into you. And even if I don't get the kill on the Rhine, I leave the Rhine at like that much HP. If we're properly coordinated. And he's forced off the point waiting for heals, and suddenly we have position. So this projected barrier is something you have to worry about. I don't think they're going to punish you in this, but it's something to consider, especially when there's Brigittas involved. And it becomes more important later on when people have actual bolts built. And so they can stun into Rhinehammer, and you need the projected barrier to block the hammer down. Most importantly.
There's Discord on that.
So they're wasting cooldowns. We're kind of... okay, so still we want to use the wall as a natural extension of our shield so we can come in and out just in case our shield suddenly starts to get low. I would like people to start considering where they're rotating. Generally you want to rotate back into this area of the map. There are some teams that rotate back here into a hotel, which gives you access to the high ground. That's more important when you have a hit scan that can play up there. Or you're running like an Orisa comp sometimes. Although Orisa comp's coming back here is still really good. We're generally going to be rotating back to this direction, which will give us access to the hotel. If you're running like a Junkrat can play in here, come around and hit them from behind. A McCree could do similar. You're probably not doing that with just a Hanzo. So we're just looking to Deathball. They've used some cooldowns. We could move boat mode a little bit closer so he's either bridging this gap or preparing for them to come in. But it's not quite time for him anyway. Alright, so this is not very good. 3 of us have fallen back to like this pocket area, which is decent. But now our Reinhardt is playing on the off. It's good for him because he's playing behind the cover of this vehicle. So while he's avoiding poke, he's actually leaving these two, who are mispositioned as is, trying to follow their Reinhardt. Vulnerable to either a quick headshot or just spam in general. Like they risk getting picked by playing over here, and you're not giving your team over here much in the way of sightlines. So like these guys are positioned well in that they have cover to use, and they have a retreat of a mini, and they're generally together. But they don't have any great opportunity to peek for damage because their shield has abandoned them. And continues to. So this bubble's just bad. Like notice this guy is focusing you. Let's back up a frame or two. Can I? So you notice how split we are, essentially? Let's back up a full 10 seconds. See it again.
Just scored on that Reinhardt.
So we just started wandering to the left side, away from our team, from where our team is going to set up. Now the Hanzo here uses this opportunity to get a whole bunch of damage on a flank on us, since we're going to be putting our shield basically like here to avoid the damage coming in from the majority of their team members. But the Hanzo easily could have hit someone over here, right, and actually threatened to kill here instead of just bullying the front line. I'm not saying he doesn't have the right idea. Bullying the front line in these compositions is the primary goal. You don't pick Brigitte to harass backline, you do it to disrupt their frontline tanks. To that end, neither Brigitte right now is in position to assist their Rhine or threaten the enemy Rhine in any way whatsoever, which is disappointing. We're also still in this spam war, and there doesn't seem to be too much reliance on shield break. It'll happen here in a second. The bubble's bad. It's not properly timed with enemy aggression or our own aggression. We're finally in a position where we can start threatening things. Honestly, this guy's really fucking close. If they use their protected barrier and boat mode has moved up to this position, this guy just dies. If it's called out, additionally, we can discord this idiot and we can punish him. But now we see the results of their spam come in. We use our heal pack early. Is there a way I can play this slower? There it is, right? Turn the sound off because otherwise everyone will hear drunk. We use protected barrier wantonly. Our heal orb is still on our Hanzo, which doesn't make much sense because he's not receiving a ton of spam and he's back here with the healers just perfectly fine. Just leave it on your tank. Keep them in armor for as long as possible. He gets discorded and shot without protection. Boat mode still has yet to actually enter this fray. We've been basically playing without a brig. And from here, you guys should lose the fight. Even if you were together, having a shield tank versus not having a shield tank, they're going to have a shit ton of damage coming your way. And you don't have any way of mitigating it outside of line of sighting it. At which point you're giving up complete access to the point. Your only opportunity to turn this, I think, right now would be getting a quick kill on something, which seems really difficult considering there is no one easily accessible to you that has put themselves in danger. The closest is the Zenyatta on low, but it's really reliant on your Hanzo hitting a shot. To make matters worse, you're actually split. You'd want Excelsior over here to help damage, so his sightlines are the team's sightlines, so whomever he's able to discord and help contribute damage to, the team is able to do similarly. It might benefit him, however, since he is a little cut off, to take this high ground and see if he can get a quick pick on back. while you guys stall the point as long as possible for your Reinhardt to continue. Even if you do get the pick, though, they do have a mercy, and so if you're unable to interrupt the resurrection, it won't matter.
I'm down.
So Boatman's finally entered this fight. We stun combo to give us some space.
Whoa, this Hanzo is under me.
Hanzo's discorded.
Yep.
The Hanzo kills himself. Absolutely.
That Zen's a little low.
I'm down.
The aggression of the Hanzo finally, yeah. I don't know what he's doing.
Whoa,
It's a
this
good
Hanzo
combo.
is under me.
Hanzo's
To
discorded.
force the Rhine back.
Zarya's getting on me. She's discorded. Oh, Brigitte on me.
Now the problem is that this guy is their main DPS, and they get the res off.
Make sure we're touching point if we can.
There's no focus. We broke
No.
down our lines of scrimmage. We're just going to lose this. Okay,
I'm sorry.
that's perfectly fine. That was a result of the Rhine earlier.
That's a waste.
But I want to practice.
So, once you recognize that you're unlikely to be able to win back this point, probably by the time they res their Hanzo, since the Hanzo threw and then you were unable to win the 5v5 because they had a res and they still had a shield tank. You needed to get like 1 or 2 picks in rapid succession while preventing res. You guys are now staggered. They have all 6 here, I think. Am I missing someone? I feel like I'm missing someone.
No,
There's all 6.
I'm sorry.
Oh, were they hiding back here when I looked? Yeah, there they are. Okay, so they have all 6. You're down at least 1. I think someone else died too and is in the middle of respawning. Or coming back from spawn. You're also low and you're draining your Moira's resources. If I were the enemy team, I would take this fight immediately. The payload takes a second to come out. If their brig is up there, your Reinhardt just dies.
Yeah, it's a waste.
But I want to practice.
Especially without your Zarya.
more.
So the goal now, oh, we actually get a pick. That's good. You're still down a significant amount. I don't think Grape got good spawn. I can check. Check. Grape, I think got good spawn. Okay, so he's not as far back as everyone, but the spawn here is still closer.
There wasn't enough there to overtake him.
The Reinhardt like gave you the space to spam them down.
You might have been better off on high ground there.
Sorry.
Back up,
Oh, I
Ryan.
mean,
So what we're going to do, since we lost that in tremendous fashion, they're likely to have the better ult economy. You can kind of see it. Your Hanzo's close, your Zarya is not at all. Neither of your tanks have ult. Well, they have 1 tank ult. Now, you're likely to build the Rhine ult immediately, which is fine, but you guys are currently without an ultimate with, like, close to 2. And very close to a third. You'll get 2 of them, you might have the third. They're going to have 1. They're going to have this one, they're going to have this one, and they're likely to have this one as well. So you guys are going to be down in ult economy. Which means that you're likely going to lose the next one just based on those facts. So when you're down in ult economy, but you need to take fights, you need to take fights as quickly as possible. As soon as there's sort of any positioning you can. So if you guys can regroup for this archway and take the fight here, even if you get wiped, they've only progressed the payload to here. So then your next fight will occur somewhere over here, back in streets, and maybe you can get even a third fight out of this streets phase. Even if you lose all 3 before they capture, and we go to the forge stage of this match. The forge stage of this map. So, thankfully they don't have... Our Zen is nowhere close. But thankfully they don't have combo. So long as the Zen builds ult before they build their Zarya, we should be okay. Keep in mind, your combo is strictly worse than theirs, is you don't have a Mercy to help you here. For those who aren't aware, Transcendence heals 300 HP a second. Dragon, Hanzo's Dragon Strike, deals 200 damage a second. So effectively, people in Graviton who are being affected by both Dragon and Transcendence take, what's it called? They are given 100 healing a second. Now, tick rates are something to discuss, but you have 100 healing a second to overcome in Graviton. If you have damage boost, that 200 damage a second becomes 260 damage a second, so you only have 40 damage to overcome, which is very easy when the Hanzo gets free fire and your Reinhardt is swinging and your Zarya has charge. 100 is a little,
Yeah, Ryan,
a
we're
little
corner.
worse.
Not all back yet.
Still doable though. But they have the better combos.
I'm almost back.
The hell was that?
Alright.
Okay. So we didn't end up taking this. We've used damage orb for no reason, essentially. We're just going to be building support ults if they didn't already have them. The damage orb here doesn't do anything. It means it's on cooldown for when this engage happens and we need to heal our tanks readily. And we already had our ultimate, so there's no real reason to use the cooldown. I do like the positioning here. We're using walls. We're going to actually have a good place where the fight starts. You can see the Reinhardt's avoiding damage. The majority of them are avoiding damage coming through, as are we. I'd like to see Zenyatta use shield peaks to try to build his trance as soon as possible.
Alright, here we are. We try and hold this corner.
Okay. So, since Grape is so far behind, we end up initiating with Dragon. This is kind of a concern. You can see, like, these two people back here, these three people, are in no position to aggress on this. The only people who can readily affect the fight during the duration of this Dragon before these guys go this way are these two. And they have to run into here, into this back corner, and are likely to die because of it. So this Dragon probably would have been better served in the middle of this fight, as the enemy team pushes into your corner, rather than initiating this, because now they're just going to split up, and they actually take a very odd split. I'm surprised the Zarya is anywhere even close, and she should be singled out and killed.
You guys,
Zara
Ryan,
left.
back up.
But the Dragon doesn't last long enough for you to take advantage of it. Okay.
Ryan's discorded. Below, down.
Ooh, that was nice.
you back up.
Okay. So you had the advantage. You took out the Reinhardt, but you gave them the Resurrect, and you're not currently contesting payload. So as soon as you get that pick, the goal should be to push in, not only to prevent the res, but even if they didn't have res, you want to take the fight since you're advantaged in a 5v6, and force them at least to blow ultimates if they want to consider winning this fight. So if I was the Moira and or shot caller for this team, as soon as we get that pick, which was a very, very nice play, I'd pop my Coalescence and I'd tell my team to go in. And I would kill the rest of these, and suddenly we have the ult advantage. We'll rebuild Dragon in the meantime. We'll probably have Brig ult.
Oh, they're gonna.
Instead, the team is backing up when we should be fighting this corner. Just fight here. It doesn't matter if you lose the fight or not. It just matters how much distance the payload gets.
Alright,
Their Hanzo is placed super
still
far. Can
backing
we try
up.
to pressure that?
we're gonna pressure. Let's pressure the Hanzo if we can, because he keeps on going forward.
Well,
Pressure
when
the
They're
he-
shield
still
first,
backing up.
guys.
Oh crap! I
Nice.
dropped.
Ryan is discorded.
Okay. So what actually triggers this is a bunch of people just deciding to press Q. Remember how I said ideally we'd like to hold at arch? Well, we decided instead to hold second corner, essentially. Which means if we lose here, we're going to have a staggered fight onto the last checkpoint here. And so it's going to be an awkward defense, and we're likely to lose it, I think, simply because they have more ults than us. Now, thankfully for them, for us rather, they are not well coordinated, and so if that Shatter had hit, then the Dragon Strike plus Shatter would have been good, but honestly, just Shatter itself would have been good. They should be saving Dragon Strike for this, which is very, very close to coming to fruition Instead, they did not. Also, we blocked their Dragon Strike. Also, they're using their Trance before we have Graph for some reason. They're popping 2 support ults at the same time, both of which they didn't need to do. Dragon Strike ends up working out though. Maybe he's able to build another one here in the meantime.
I got ult as I died, like literally within a second of each other.
So the Dragon Strike ends up working out. If their Shatter had worked out, it would have been
Are we
fine
gonna be able
too.
to
I guess
get-
he saw an
Oh,
opportunity.
no.
Um,
Nah, that's gone.
seems
Alright,
fine. Yeah,
stay
see,
back here.
see how
Did
we took a
block their
fight
hammer
too
down, or
late
was
in
that-
streets by continually backing up, and now we don't have the numbers to actually contest here for this.
I used
We only got 1 fight in Streets phase, and that's not what you want to do. As defenders, you want to have as many fights as possible
return.
all the time.
Yeah, no, I got hammered down.
So we're starting off in a good position. Holding this first seems good. Checking ult economy. We know they should have Grav coming up. No one has built Grav slower than Grape, but we might be able to get it next fight. If timed well, these two will be able to combo in time for this next fight. There's Zenyatta Blue Trance, so we know that our combo will be effective. Since we should know that they have Graviton because they haven't used it at all. So if we press tab and realize that they have a 6 character called Zarya, we know that their Graviton is coming, and we are likely to die in it unless our Trance is effective. So we want our Trance to be playing kind of a bit more forward to help with the Graviton incoming. And we do not want to use Brigitte ult in the next fight until they use Trance. Because if we use it, or until they use Graviton, because if we use the armor generating ability, then they'll just eat all our armor during the Graviton. The Trance won't actually be healing as much as it could, and it's essentially a wasted ult.
I died from that.
So we waste bubbles.
Ah, damn it.
We're just kind of giving space. Notice how low our shield has gotten? We're giving up this corner for free, and we're now saying, okay, we're going to contest this second corner then. So with the shield placed here, the team here should be rotating backwards, and this is an issue that a lot of main tanks have. It's also a team issue because the team seems to be readily willing to just back up as a group.
I'm gonna rally
So,
now. Everyone here.
Our shield's gone. They're close to Shatter too. If they get another Fire Strike and Shatter before we get our shield up, it's a problem. We're gonna rally here, which means their Graviton is gonna be
Shield's down.
effective. We just kind of give space. You can kind of see how like our breakdown of scrimmages. We have Bobo on a super deep flank, meaning he's not playing corners at all. He actually has a long distance to go to leave their line of sight. He's going to eat poke. It seems like during this rally we should be aggressive, especially since if we fall back any further, any loss here is going to mean a loss of the entire point. We're only going to get 1 more fight.
Sorry, left side.
Okay, so we didn't end up needing the Trance, but we used it anyway. They had no pressure on their backline. They didn't have their Hanzo ult because they haven't been coordinating their ults that well or building them that fast. They shatter 1 person, which they don't seem to be able to follow up on.
Down.
Okay, so we have Trance, and our Reinhardt just like double hops back. I don't know if you saw that. Let me show you. So Reinhardt gets up, he's bubbled, he's full health, and he backs up twice. We communicate we're going to Graviton, I guess. We don't need Graviton though, since we got 2 opening picks, and our Trance is still going. We have no use for any additional ultimates. We win this fight purely based on numbers and spawn, unless they turn it around with an ultimate, but they just used their 2 most impactful ultimates in the fight.
Right there.
So we don't need anything else.
It's just Ryan. It's
Ryan's
just
down.
No, we're good.
Mercy's
Mercy's
right.
escorted.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
So
Sorry.
instead, since everyone is using ults whenever the fuck they feel like, instead of coordinating them and rationing them as a team, no one has any ultimates. They're going to have Rally coming in. We could have Shatter after this poke phase is done, but
Here's
We're all
Mega.
set, yeah, definitely.
Zarya
We don't
discorded,
have
she's
any more.
behind.
She jumped off.
jumped.
Okay.
but everyone
Yeah,
has
okay.
used stuff. So this is poor
Alright,
ult
We're
management.
gonna have
This is not only it's partially a shot calling issue. Ideally, the shot caller is calling what ultimates we're going to use in the next fight and is cognizant of what ultimates they have coming up on the enemy team. But it's also sort of a discipline issue and an awareness issue from your teammates who are not the shot caller. Like even if Grape sees a carry opportunity to get all 4 members remaining on their team in that graviton instead of the one person he got, he needs to realize that 2 of them are already down and we have numbers already in the fight and we do not need anything additional. So
Right now. Alright.
it's both a team and an individual thing.
We can try to work with just hammer down.
Yeah, I'm at 75% right now.
Okay.
Thought I got a couple.
So we're communicating we have hammer down. Okay. So what you can do is wait for them to use projected barrier since teams generally aren't super disciplined about using projected barrier. Now once that is down, stun the Reinhardt and shatter him immediately. So if you count down your stun, 3, 2, 1, and then stun on effectively 0, our Reinhardt shatter has to occur somewhere between 1 and 0.5. If the stun doesn't last long enough and the shatter animation is long enough that if you try to do it on reaction to seeing them being shattered, you're likely to miss it. It has to be
Couple more people in there.
in anticipation
No,
of
it
the
was just
stun.
Ryan.
I headshot one of them.
We cannot be taking fire strikes right here. That's just
Okay.
lazy.
I'm gonna call it a work. Good one.
Alright, they're coming in with Rally. Try to burn shield and will you get a hammer down in?
They're not even showing their shield. So this idiot is so far forward. And if we get a Discord on her, like look how far back there. There's their projected barrier. This Brigitte in the middle of her ultimate is attempting to die and you need to punish it.
Watch out.
Like absolutely needs to.
Brigitte's discorded, she's on the point. Down.
Nice, Brigitte's down. Zarya left side. Fire
Okay, so now team got a little split. Went in for a pin. Seems fine. Our Reinhardt has to be careful. He's in the middle of the team. Our Brig is unable to assist. We might have projected barrier for him. I see we have an orb for him. But like this person is way out of position now. And boat mode jumped on it. And I want to see the rest of the team do stuff.
Alright, I don't have shield for you. I used it on.
I don't know why boat mode is shielding when instead of just swinging. But we're likely to win this fight. I don't think we need.
Brigitte's discorded, she's on the point. Down.
Nice, Brigitte's down. Zarya left side. Fire
Zarya's
yourself.
discorded.
So we're up 2 picks, right? Someone died like here, someone dies here. They're in no position to res. We do not need ultimates, but we end up using coalescence.
Alright, I don't have shield for you. I used it on power cloud.
Zarya's low.
Nope, we got the
Oh,
shatter.
good job.
Alright, it's just Zarya.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I
a
got
bad shatter by them, in case you couldn't
One
tell.
whole solo mission.
Damn it! How did I miss that?
Alright.
So another thing you can do is, you can play up here. If you guys are adequately grouped for it, that will let your Hanzo get in additional spam, your Zarya get in additional spam. Their Zarya was decently charged, so I'd probably put her ultimate at about half. She did not get in a lot of spam, however, so she's a little bit less than that. The Reinhardt just used Shatter, you should know. They haven't used Valk in a couple fights, or Trance in a couple fights. So you should put them at, like, maybe like 0.5 for this one. They're going to have these next fight. And you look at your own ult economy and you're saying, I might have this one, might have this one. And Grape is not building energy well, I think. So if we hold as close as possible, we get additional spam in and we can slowly fall
That's
backwards
pretty good.
and build ults that way.
Almost.
Also,
at
if you take the fight earlier, they have less payload distance should they win.
Tony's almost at mine. We're
Holding
gonna be
first
coming up
corner, I
with
guess,
trans
works
pretty
too,
soon.
but we could hold even further up if we
Back
wanted to.
30% right now.
They're probably gonna have grab this fight.
Just be careful that you're peeking. You got Discord on you currently.
Onizuka's a little too far forward.
Yeah. Oni probably take high ground.
Helden sterben nicht.
Oh, Orion back up. Ah.
This is the consequence of using the projected barrier here. So at 335, we use projected barrier.
Yeah.
We don't have it until 27.
Oni probably take high ground.
Helden sterben nicht.
We should have it now. Give or take a second, because I don't think you get the cooldown during the duration. Team is back the fuck up though. Like, you notice this? If we want to take a fight as soon as possible, so we have another contest. We're leaving our Reinhardt out to dry. Neither tank or frontline support in our Brigitte are anywhere near him. We're just absolutely letting him die.
Oh, Orion back up. Ah.
He should not, like... Okay, are we using an ultimate here? Okay. So the goal right now should just be to leave. Just regroup. You're not looking to aggress off this ultimate, so this... Unless this ultimate magically gets like 3 of them, this is wasted. And there's no way it should.
Zarya's like one hit.
Notice how that, even though we split like one person, we're not aggressing on this. That's why it's a bad ultimate. It was just a Hail Mary attempt.
Shit.
If we die anymore from
Yeah,
this,
heal.
we're not going to get any sort of contest on the point. So the enemy team is playing really passively, but they should absolutely be pushing us right now.
We're gonna have to give him some space here. All right, rallying
Watch out,
now.
Sal.
Everyone
Back
group
up,
up.
back
Group
up.
up.
The result of all the poke is that our Hanzo dies linked. They have a shatter, which they absolutely could have
Ryan's
used
discorded.
earlier.
I'll try and focus the shield down. Desire
Notice how they're up and they're not aggressing into you? That's lucky for you.
is on the left. Might come past.
Shit, he's gonna get.
2 people are, like, we blocked that shatter with our Rhine shield, but 2 people are just avoiding the shield because they're allergic.
Me.
And they should all die. All die.
Oh,
Okay, I don't understand
I don't
no,
know
it's,
about
very much what
Mercy's
happened there.
discorded.
The dragon came late.
Focus the shield down. Desire is on the left. Might come past.
So this is a good shatter in that it gets 2 people. If their Hanzo had immediately reacted and just thrown the dragon
Shit,
across here,
he's gonna get me.
except he's not, it's in a bad position.
oh.
Like he could have affected everyone along this flank if he had angled it better. It would have won the fight off that. And this is, they again fuck up their graviton timing.
Oh.
So the enemy team
No,
completely
this-
threw this.
Mercy's discorded.
Mercy. Ah, shit.
They even res, so you have a chance to build additional ultimates off the Reinhardt.
No, that's fine. That's extra ult charge. That's good.
Yeah, that's extra ult charge. We burned her cooldown for a little bit.
Thank you.
No,
Okay, so I want to see if Grape and
Still
Onizuka can
have-
actually
we only used 1 ult there, right? No, we used 2. That's fine.
No.
combo.
Still got trans.
It's
Okay,
really
no, that's
disappointing
good.
to me that
Sorry, I
And
went to the wrong corner. My
we've
fault.
only had 2
looks like
gravitons
you guys still have your
in the
armor
past 8 minutes of play from each team.
Hold in, something like- Peek a little bit. Alright, too late. Never mind. Alright, no allied shield for 6.
Alright, see, we're not playing a corner again. Ooh, that's a bad position. We never want to be angled this way, because these people don't have anywhere to really stand when we do that. Also, when we eventually are forced to retreat this way, we have to move together as a team, and that sort of coordination can be rough sometimes, if not properly coordinated. Hanzo's in a position where he has high ground control, and he should be looking to try to pick off someone in the back line. Preferably Mercy, or based on their ultimates, this guy, since we're looking for this. So there's Zenyatta or Mercy would be prime targets here. Instead, I think he's shooting down on their front line, which isn't as effective. And he gets picked out, which is rough.
Oh, Discord on me.
So we're likely to use Graviton here without him.
30% from rally. I'm gonna
Whoa, 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 whoa. What was that? Alright, you see how our Reinhardt has fallen back, but these 2 haven't? So we have a situation where like yes, Grape isn't being focused. But a better team would take this opportunity to relieve him of his armor at least, if not the entirety of his health. A better team coordinator would see him split from the team in front of his main tank, and at least build ultimates off of that.
Tommy.
And that's kind of the problem. So we use a projected barrier here, which should get us killed. Honestly, they should just stun our Rhine shortly after this. Push in.
30% from rally. I'm gonna use it on cooldown.
They don't.
Careful.
Reinhardt should
Watch
die
Reinhardt.
because we don't have
Yeah.
projected.
Oh.
Now suddenly we're down 3.
Yeah, you gotta not pin into the enemy team
Back
like
up,
that.
Excel.
You see how these decisions kind of snowball?
Back up.
Excel, yeah, you're too far.
There's no backup. You're dead. Like you've lost this game. Essentially. You like the payload, you've given too much space on the payload and allowed it to push so far that even if 3 of you come back to here, you're still going to have a staggered fight onto point in the face of their Shatter and probably Dragon. Additionally, dying on payload doesn't work out because like you're not going to get spawned in time before your team comes, so you kind of have to just like force shit, and it's a really bad positioning. Really bad
Sorry, yeah, I know, I
position
know.
to be in.
I have my
Not
ult.
positioning to be in.
All right. Well, they wasted
Boat mode
ult.
should die.
That's good.
They didn't
Yeah,
waste
I don't
anything.
Really,
If they had instead just immediately gone into boat mode, like they
I think they wasted
It's
it.
auto
They're
win.
all, yeah.
Get
We
him,
gotta
get
we gotta touch. Oh, nice, dude.
Alright, so they threw it back.
Okay.
All right, no, nothing
There's a
else.
Ryan behind.
Zarya,
No more.
Zarya.
No more else.
Get Zarya.
Ryan's on the point, discorded.
All right, never mind. They're back.
How are we not winning this?
Shit.
Oh, I got rally out before I got.
Ryan.
Nice, dude.
So we kill their major DPS and we kill Hanzo. Okay. We are up 1 by my count, although there's still someone in spawn. If we stabilize at all, we're fine. We get a good shatter. The focus fire is in there. Deathlord is DPSing.
All right, no, nothing
There's a
else.
Ryan behind.
No more.
Zarya.
No more.
Okay, we don't kill their Zarya or their Reinhardt. Instead we split damage.
Ryan's on the point, discorded.
Deathlord traps himself and I think he dies.
All right, never mind. They're back.
When the shatter comes down here.
Shit.
Oh, I got rally out before I got stunned.
There's poor focus in general.
Oh, mercy slow, mercy. Oh, she's not.
Alright, so we threw, they threw back, we threw, they threw back.
Right off the front. I was just trying to touch.
Oh,
the
that
mic.
trance was so close. Being really useful.
Celsius on point.
So the goal right now should be swapping to stall, so we don't auto lose this point. We already used rally, get off that, go on to Tracer, go on to Diva, go on to something that stalls for a long time. Maybe Winston, I don't know. Doesn't matter. Moira, I guess, is fine. This could be Lucio just to get us in. May would be good.
Yeah, it's not looking good.
Okay. So we took fights at awkward times. We had no ult communication or consideration to what they might have. We had just poor positioning. Let's see if we can rectify
Are we
that.
supposed to reset? I guess it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. They push low.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. They pushed all the way.
And
We saw there the compositional difference of Moira between Moira and Mercy. Their Mercy was able to get like some good reses off, which end up nullifying advantages you might have in the pick phase. The advantage of Moira is that she can heal multiple people at once, like naturally. But we weren't taking advantage of that because we're not running like a Lucio slam composition, where we have multiple people in front of us. Instead, we're just kind of playing one at a time, kill the front, wait for picks. So I suspect the Mercy will be more
oh,
useful here too. They get some good old charge on us.
All right, looks like they were running the same thing.
Right
The team is not in any way prepared for this rotation, which can be a problem at higher elos. Notice how our Reinhardt is already back and is no longer shielding this choke. How many people have gotten in? Just 2, right? Just the tanks? If I were the enemy Hanzo and I see this Zenyatta walking across, I'd probably try to kill him like here. Like, that's not great.
On the statue, they have a sniper top right.
A whole
and
bunch
the-
of people are
wait, I don't
pressured
know
out
if
of
we
it.
can Get that? And the Mercy, I mean.
Instead, they ignore
Do you
you.
have any verticality?
So instead, we lose a lot of shield pressure here by holding it up before we're ready to actually come through here, because they, instead of spamming your team coming through the choke, have decided to spam the shield. I don't necessarily agree with that, but it means that your shield is much lower than theirs, and so they're going to win any protracted battle. Especially with the Mercy here, whose damage boost will contribute more to shield pressure than a Moira will. And they're on high ground too, so they have high ground control.
We have Hanzo.
Just me.
We got Pounzo.
You
Okay.
have Hanzo, cool, but they have a Mercy.
Shield's gonna break.
He's
Okay.
gonna get rezzed. He's gonna get rezzed.
This person should immediately die. Where is boat mode? Boat mode is right here next to... Where's our Reinhardt? Let's see our Reinhardt. Why the fuck is our Reinhardt? You get booped?
We have Hanzo.
Just me.
We got Pounzo. Okay.
Shield's gonna break.
He's gonna get rezzed. He's gonna get rezzed.
Let's boot back. This guy should just fucking die.
Watch out, boat.
Why do they not res that? What the fuck? I'm so
Back up,
confused.
Back up.
But we have a situation here where like both Brigittas are playing hyper aggressive in front of their main tanks. You guys don't punish theirs after she uses stun and is still in the middle of us. Bomo does a good thing of stunning her. If he could have stunned her and then pushed her back into his team, it would have secured the kill, I think. But now Bomo is likely to just die, yeah.
Yeah.
And now you guys are even. Till their Hanzo gets back. But we're backing up. Okay. So we're backing up. We're giving up space in a 5v5. So our Hanzo should still be coming back, although albeit briefly. And if we look at ultimates, it kind of shows we're taking a lot of damage. Zormora is the most farmed one closest to ultimate on our team. Meanwhile, their Zen and their Reinhardt are doing a decent amount of work.
Alright, wait for boat.
Sorry.
Shield's almost down. On Reinhardt.
Yeah, put it down.
I gotta charge mine up.
So like here's the, like I don't understand how our shield's even low. If we're just trying to line of sight them, waiting for the regroup, our shield could be at like basically full health. That's just poor discipline, I think.
Back up a little bit. Maybe go back around the statue. We're fine here.
Which way we want to go?
Alright.
Let's try pushing main.
Okay. So in that time, they have built 2 ultimates.
Alright, charger me very much.
Alright, so here we do that same shit again. Where like, our Reinhardt is nowhere at all blocking for our team. Which means 2 things. If they take the fight immediately to you, you don't have anyone backing you up. You have no one like immediately back here. If you get pinned, no one's going to be able to help you over here. The pin isn't a major concern. It's the spam hitting your team that's the major concern. And they could very easily just fucking punish this. Our
so that
angling is
Hanzo's
super
not-
weird. There's the shatter on 3 members of your team because you were not shielding them.
Got the shadow.
Your angling is super weird. We shatter back. We're able to turn this.
Hanzo top. Alright.
Let's try pushing main.
Nice.
Alright, charger me very much.
I don't see.
Still got Hanzo top. Uh-oh.
Got the shadow.
You get one. They have poor focus, so they only kill 1 in shatter and lose 1 themselves. That's so awkward. However, If their Zenyatta was better, or their Zenyatta could have reactioned ulted here, that would have been a problem.
Mine's down.
I don't know if we knew
Let's
this
do it a little bit.
coalescence,
I
but I
can't
don't
beat
entirely
Hall
hate the
right
idea
now.
of using it. That was good. That was a good turnaround.
All right.
We made up for our
That
bad
shadow
positioning
was
by getting a
monstrous,
nice
dude.
one. Yeah. Yours also
There you
was
go.
pretty good though. Okay, I want to hear what
Still found my
ultimates
card,
they
but-
have and what ultimates we're planning to use next fight.
Damn it.
Alright, pretty much everyone push up.
What
Push up.
did I do?
Push up on that.
Off healer on their card.
So if you get a pick like that, or if the way the fight works out that they're staggered and they won't be all grouped in Streets phase, they don't all get good spawn, leaves one person on the point, generally the off healer like Zenyatta who can contribute from range just fine. Everyone else pushes up and looks to collect the rest of these guys. So you guys are essentially taking a 5v5 since one's on payload and one of them is spawning.
Yeah, Zen, stay on.
Meanwhile, you're pushing the whole time, so it's beneficial to you. So keep pushing.
Dude, I have done nothing this attack.
Keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing. Alright. They are regrouping now. So now you can no longer push. So just holding
Man,
your
Rick
corner
got
is a good
charged,
idea.
though.
Now I do. I had nothing earlier.
A preemptive bubble will do you no favors. They should focus
I
you.
haven't even got my first goal yet, man.
Careful.
That bubble also is not that great. Remember, they can push into you with Brig.
Thank you.
Yep.
Maybe
Remember.
recharge.
Now, they are doing something that I don't like either. They're holding here. Despite being fully grouped, they should be looking to take a fight as soon as possible so they get another fight before this checkpoint here, which they are not doing. There's cooldowns that you guys have wasted and won't have up for a little bit. If I was their Mercy, I'd pop Valkyrie and just go into you.
A little bit?
Draw
Okay.
shield, let that recharge.
Yep.
As we come around
Good
this corner.
pick.
Nice, very good.
Pressure our
Pushing
the
well.
shield.
This guy's playing off his shield because he's allergic.
They got the res up. Zarya's low. Yeah, let's try and
This Zenyatta is suicidal. He's split. He's free. He seemed to try to get a bunch of poke behind your shield, and he has positioned himself poorly.
well, you have. There we go.
That seems fine.
Oh, damn it.
Everyone's just gonna press Q at once.
Roll.
Do it into the train.
Blast him. There we go. No more ults. No more ults. No more.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Like, Jesus, guys. At least you're gonna win this one. So, doesn't really matter.
No more ults.
Well, I mean, I used
There's just no coordination there whatsoever. We come out on
Here
top
comes
because
the-
we still have, like, we
Right.
don't,
Yeah,
we
yours-
didn't need
the
to use
whole
boat
thing
modes,
went
but we
just
have Shatter,
weird.
so that's
Nice,
cool.
Tony.
We'll have Coalescence probably next one. You get this one.
Come on. I got like a 6-man grab.
Yeah,
Boom
they too.
sauce.
Yeah, it was a good combo. Good combo. Good react. I
Alright,
didn't have to
can
call
we
it out.
push up at all?
Got a Zen on me.
So as boat mode is kind of clarifying, you probably want to hold here. You had position, they had spawns. Remember, take position if you have the advantage.
Not really, no.
No.
Got a Zen on you.
Instead, you're kind of giving it to them, so they get in pretty
Yeah,
easy.
yeah.
You guys are
I
all
got
playing
Discord cleaning it with the cart.
afraid.
I feel like they're kind of giving us corners for free here.
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they kinda are.
They've set themselves up in a terrible, terrible position. If you guys get this shatter off with any sort of coordination between boat mode and your Reinhardt, you'll just win the point. Like, where they're setting up for the fight to take place is somewhere like in here. Maybe even as bad as here. In which case any sort of fight win just pushes the payload naturally.
Yeah, I'll take them.
Get the Zen.
mean-
Zen. Oh, okay.
Okay, we can absorb this. Or we can pop Coalescence right now to sustain through it and look for a shatter while they're playing hyper aggressive during their supposed time of invulnerability.
Okay.
Hanzo up top.
Very good. Very good.
I pop Coalescence now and push into them.
Pressure the Rhine. Rhine. Oh,
Okay, so we
monster.
get a good shatter. Seems fine.
I don't even need to call that one out.
Nice.
That was well done.
Wow.
Nice.
Alright.
Ooh, okay.
I think we were a little bit delayed in doing it. I wish we had boat mode
Alright,
coordination
recorded.
to
Oh, I missed with my.
actually influence it, but
Zarya?
generally good.
Zarya's discorded.
Nice.
She left. Yeah, she got off the window. Nice.
It was good.
Um, like I was making the hands. The only, for example, like since I play Hanzo, I'm just like constructive advice. Everyone should be talking more about like what you're doing.
Yep, I
What
agree.
you plan on doing. For example, like since I play Hanzo, I'm just putting this out there. Like if I'm throwing out my dragon, and it's not like a combo, I'll be like, oh, I'm splitting them off, or like
Yeah,
stuff.
there's a
And,
good not.
If you have the Brigitte and the Rhine right next to each other, you have the Brig stun their Rhine, and then they're like you can like hammer down for free, you can charge him for free, things like that. Like you can make plays off of, with just you three.
Their comp here.
I should probably call out my shatters too. You definitely should be playing them. I understand.
Yeah,
I
there's
keep looking for that
no
shield
real
not
good
being
communication here, which is independent of your mechanical skill. There's a lot of potential here for team play between stuns and bubbles and charges and ultimates that we're just not seeing here. Let's take a look at.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
the D. I missed the D.
Okay. So here are the compositions. Okay. So I think their composition is relatively well balanced. I don't actually think Junkrat is that good on attack here, however, but I understand where he's coming from with it. It's an ultimate, and it's a shit ton of shield pressure. Additionally, they have a Widow set up for the crossfire. They have a Diva to prevent enemy spam from preventing them from getting through the door easily. So what I suspect they'll do is either walk up to your shield if you're positioned kind of forward, which it seems like you might be, or they'll go this way and sort of try to meet you around the other side of point. They alternatively could use it to go this way and then high ground and then drop down later. They have some options here. Their comp makes kind of sense to me. Your comp also mostly makes sense to me. It seems to be anti-dive. Interestingly enough, you're running the Doomfist. Now, the Doomfist here, I can only see working as a frontline bully with this comp. On this map, he won't have the greatest rollouts, I feel. Like he should not find a way to pressure this Widow unless this Widow's playing like here. In which case he can come here, seismic slam in this area, puncher and all that stuff. But like, I guess his high ground accents is fine. But I think he's going to be mostly peeling if they end up charging here and disrupting the Reinhardt more than looking for flank opportunities and backline access.
yeah.
Since
One
he has
is a
no
verb
support.
and one is
I don't get it.
something you receive.
Okay, so the shield up here is awkward. Notice how no one... We're playing at like two vastly different angles. Grape isn't up here to support. Our Junkrat's up here and trying to fire this way. If he instead ends up rotating here along with, then suddenly we're all spamming from the same sidelines. But just an Orisa spam is of no consequence to any real composition that the enemy team could present. And to that end, holding this shield is really problematic. If they're running a Lucio, like a Lucio Rhine aggression, by the time you see them, they speed boost on top of you and kill your Orisa, who has nowhere else to go. And your team is not in any sort of position to bail you out. So generally, the higher elos you go, the further back people end up holding. Sometimes you see people holding on point, although it's rare, unless they're running an Orisa. Holding like this corner here is probably generally the play. The problem with holding this far forward is, yeah, the speed boost through chokes kind of gets you. Also, you neglect this platform a lot of the time, so if teams come up through this platform with flankers, you're forced to reposition anyway, particularly against snipers. Like in the olden days, before the Hanzo scatter rework, holding here meant that the Hanzo comes up here and just scatters you. You just lose. Pharahs also are pretty good on this first point anyway, and holding the shield up here lets them get around it for free.
Oh,
Never
very
mind.
nice.
I was wrong the whole time.
Why do
Okay.
we only have a Orion on that gate? There we go.
I'm here. Oh, they have a widow.
You got a widow.
Alright, so also, they can take a whole bunch of angles to hit the shield, and we see how quickly your shield breaks from there. And they're not even super dedicated to shield break anyway. It's pretty much just like Junkrat and some other spam here. If you hold it here, they can only be here to spam your shield, where if it's in this first position, they can hit it from up top, all up here. They have a lot more room to work with,
Pump in that
so
shield.
your shield is more vulnerable.
Keep yours up.
So right now you're just eating spam, because you're trying to inflict. You're trying to trade your health for their shield damage, which is fucking useless, to put it bluntly, because the rest of your team is not contributing to that whatsoever, and they have Diva. So your health is not worth it at all. You need to line of sight them until they come back, or until your shield comes back, essentially. Or you need to get your team to actually contribute to help you on this front line, because this Junkrat has done nothing. This Doomfist so far hasn't done anything, but he's not really. You don't pick the Doomfist for like the poke phase anyway. And I don't think your Hog has done too much either.
There we go.
I'm here.
So there's some spam.
Oh, they have a
He's now backed up to the point where his spam is no longer really affecting the Rhine shield.
You got a
We're gonna get
Pump in that
dinked
shield.
here. Yep, we get dinked. And then we
Here's up.
linger and take 2 grenades to the face.
Oh lord.
Melting. Uh-oh.
And they have a jump
Shield's
pad?
gone. We get the res off. We get a decent
Okay, he's
hook.
super low on left.
Get the div out of mech.
There's the Doomfist aggression.
He was out.
We're super low in
Prevent
there.
them from doing stuff. Boat mode, what are you doing?
Get the div out of
Boat mode had no real reason to drop outside of line of sighting the Widow. He needs to drop in a position where he's able to influence this choke without putting himself in any danger. The two most dangerously positioned people on your team right now are both your DPS, which is absolutely tragic now that we've used our res and that our spawn location is significantly far away from the objective. So if instead Boatmode had placed himself here, he gets to easily do this without ever being in swing range of the enemy team and without being considered. He could also drop down and rotate back towards his team, preferably back to the pocket where the rest of his team is actually positioning to take the space from.
mech.
Instead, that's not a thing. Instead, he's going to charge forward in an attempt to kill their Reinhardt, who has a full damage shield, with everyone looking at
He's
him.
out.
We're super low in there.
out.
Oh, I'm down. Fuck.
It's a terrible position. And you should honestly just lose this fight based off either this or your Orisa getting picked early.
Sorry.
I'm pumping the shield.
Now, ideally, their Widow takes this time to actually take this space and create a crossfire, so now you're forced to worry about both the choke and this window, which will force you back. I think at this point, your goal should be to stall as long as possible without taking a clear fight, wait for your Junkrat to come back, and then take a fight on point as a last stand. And their objective right now is to get in and take as much position and as many kills as possible while you're down.
Ryan's
Because they still have res. Instead, they're just leaving.
Zen. Got him. Ooh,
There's the Widow.
Up
Widow's
top.
trying to get me.
Fuck.
I'm hiding.
Alright, you're down one. Careful. Sorry, I got bursted.
Pump the shield.
You didn't get bursted. Your positioning was
Oh, I'm trying.
god awful.
Oh, hello.
The Ryan's discorded.
Okay, you're down
He's
two.
super low.
Careful, back up if you have to.
They can res this.
Widow's
Okay,
right.
Kind of
They're going to res this.
shit. Getting the res. Pump.
I'm back.
They're just not aggressive at all.
I got a hook on the diva.
We're getting some good hooks.
Mine's Discord, he's down.
The Reinhardt is playing really poorly.
Discord on the Mercy.
She's ulted. On the Zen.
Retreat the point.
Who's left
Shit,
side?
you're not.
The Reinhardt is both not taking the space during an advantage, and allowing his shield to be consistently broken, and his team to be hooked from the other side of him. That being said, they still might win this fight.
Got a
Get
demon
on
on
point
point.
if you can, and then let's get the
Widow's
diva.
Widow's
on
main.
point.
Widow's main.
Like if they get any amount of trades here,
Don't hide
it's
back.
considered
Left.
good for them.
Hook on the left.
Check on
Yeah,
the
let's
left.
actually prioritize him.
He was out of mech.
Got a hook. He's one.
We got. They
Thank
got.
you, thank you.
Mercy Widow high ground. They're still up there. Can we
He was
push
down.
up on them?
Yeah, we mostly stabilize. Let's try and push up if we can. We can try and kit the Ryan shield. They're mostly spawned though. We're actually good.
Yeah, you
We
guys
can
are
hold
fine.
up to the gate.
We swapped off and used 2 ultimates there to their 1. Infosight doesn't matter. But picks are way more valuable for the attackers here. So their tire is likely to carry this.
Using tire.
Yeah, it's just
Your tire is bad right now. They're still spawning. You want to eat up as much of the clock as possible. You want to wait essentially for them to be here on the choke or coming in to use their tire. Just you have to wait for them to commit, because right now they don't have anything in the world to worry about except this tire. So even if you get a pick, it's only like a 15-second delay instead of like the 30 or some you can get from staggering additional people. And if you get any picks off this tire, none of your teammates will be able to build their ultimates off of any picks you get while they're attempting to regroup and they're staggering. So this is just a bad
Oh,
tire.
look at these tire roots.
Bam.
We killed that banana.
It doesn't matter. Res.
You saw that, didn't you? It was. Oh man.
Well,
Like that is
Yeah,
a waste of
okay,
an
well,
ultimate.
no worries, whatever.
It gets 7
Yeah, it took
seconds
a
off the
while.
clock. It's not worth it. 7 seconds they were giving you anyway.
watch sniper in the top lane.
Alright, we're holding too close again. As soon as the shield goes down, we're going to be sniped or aggressed upon.
shield
But
on
Mode
top.
is playing with
Shield's not
danger.
top window. She rotated to.
The shield is better, but still not great. People are still allergic to your shield, however. Here's your shield. Nope, sorry. Here's your shield. How many people are playing behind it, do you think? It's you. It's maybe these two. Your Widow's not, because your Widow's on high ground. Your ult battery of Roadhog is not. And your most important DPS is not either.
Ryan
Their
shield's
their
down.
shield's down. Right.
Ryan,
Okay,
Ryan's
Ryan.
down.
Use
Oh.
pin. I'm down. I'm down. I'm down.
Uh-oh.
Oh, I.
No.
And that's the result of it. We have no cover. No cover at all.
Top window. She rotated to.
Like, what is this? This position should get you killed at literally every elo.
Ryan
Their
shield's
their
down.
shield's
And
down.
allows
Right.
this.
Ryan,
Okay,
Ryan's
Ryan.
down.
We should have another shield
Pin.
soon.
I'm down. I'm down. I'm down.
Uh-oh.
Oh, I.
We should be able to LOS with the rock, but 2 of us fucked that up.
No.
Oh, fuck.
I was pinned until
That's no
too late.
good.
I couldn't.
We might need to retreat.
That's a really bad trance.
Point? I don't know. Uh-oh. Okay,
That's
there's
such a
their
bad
ult.
trance from both teams. Neither of you needed to do that. Yours is ill-advised because you're going to lose this fight. You're down 3. It's a 6v3, and even if spawns were the same distance, you just like don't win this. So unless you have an ultimate in your back pocket that can somehow wipe out 5 members of their team, you're not winning this.
Oh, man.
And they don't need to trance either
Shit. Still
because they
coming
have that
back.
Oh, I got
advantage.
roped hard.
Oh, okay.
Oh, why are we ulting?
And
What is
we
going
That's
on?
looking gone.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
They randomly
Guess
use
that's
tire, you randomly use whole hog too. It's gonna expire.
Lol. Watch.
Okay. So the spend lines here are not terribly great for Orisa here. The most important ledges on the map are here and here. Orisa kind of has to pick one, same with Reinhardt. But at least Reinhardt has the health to like brawl in a tight corridor and the abilities to get a lot of damage Orisa doesn't have the spam to prevent them from getting on top of her, necessarily. If they come the upper here and your shield's up here, the Junkrat will help you out for that. But if they end up, if you're on high ground and the enemy team instead just goes to point and Orisa's forced to drop, she is significantly less effective. So Orisa is not a great pick here. The only really good place for Orisa is like a back right corner of the point, but you give up both high grounds to do it. You give up a lot of space to do it. So for that reason, we see a lot of dive tanks here on defense. They're capable of managing this wide open space here on second point while controlling high grounds and low grounds with ease, and having great ultimates to stall the point out for the 2 CP spawns to factor in. To that, for the same reason, Hog's bad. Zenyatta's great. He has long sight lines to both spam and apply orbs. His ultimate is one of the best in the game. Junkrat can work, so this is good. Mercy's good. We can fly up and down ledges. Ana is also good here for similar reasons. Moira can work, but is really short range. Junkrat can't work if the enemy team is playing a death ball, which they are, because he'll get a lot of spam as they come in from easily spammable chokes. Soldier's great because if they leave him on high ground at all, he just kind of takes over the game, particularly against a death ball. Their Widow is good. Their Junkrat on attack is probably bad. Like, this is bad, this is good, this is good, this is fine, this is great, and this is good. So compositions coming to the second point, I think our tanks will struggle.
Coming in.
And our
I don't think
DPS
they can really snowball
will
us.
be fine. Can they really snowball you? No.
Alright,
Or
let's go.
But they really shouldn't be able to, except that we gave up, like, each team just gave up a shit ton of
Yeah,
ults
we're
for that
not
they didn't
very
need
good.
to.
Yeah, probably switch to Ryan Zarya.
Very ill-advised
Switch to Ana.
ult
Oh,
usage.
I was thinking.
So you have no one to
D.Va
contest this Widow,
and
Oh,
except for enemy
Winston
soldier.
because of the high ground.
gotta be smart. Oh, you're I'm gonna
So
say.
where are we setting up? We are still deciding where we're going to be. We swapped to a Reinhardt. Okay. Okay. But we're not holding up here?
For now.
Why is he
They're
on
up,
this
they're
spot?
pushing top
Okay.
left.
What is this
man?
visualization?
Watch the Widow top right.
Yeah, we need something to.
Okay. So now we have a clear picture. We're holding on the ground as Reinhardt, which is an easy way to kind of... So this Reinhardt is in a lot of trouble. He doesn't have anywhere to be right now. Like he's on the point because he thinks that being on the point is the thing to do, but without an enemy team contesting, you're just kind of in space, shielding nothing. Similarly, our team can't really walk up here because they are in this position and coming up this stairwell against their spam here will kill us entirely. We're still in the middle of like a change here, which is bizarre to me. We should kind of know what we want to transition to for second point during the downtime of either losing first point or as a team discussion outside the game. Their Widow is in a fantastic position to create additional sightlines for herself. She's going to come and go between basically this platform and this platform, with maybe even a rotation here to coast if she wants. Our soldier doesn't have anything to work with. The sightlines are super long for him. He has nowhere to look except up top. If I were the enemy team right now, I'd take this confusion where you guys are just doing fuck all. Just drop down and kill your Reinhardt. So if I were your Reinhardt, I'd just probably, like, ideally you would have already been up here, looking to take a fight to them. Maybe even along this one here to prevent this window and the Widow from getting silenced here. But you can see like the awkward position your Reinhardt's in right now, where like he's forced to shield but doesn't have anywhere to go, and so he's not contributing, but he doesn't have any outs to contribute because the team hasn't presented him enough pressure for him to take space, and we were still discussing what sort of composition we want to run going into second point. We've cleaned up a couple things though. We have an Ana instead of Mercy. Mercy would have been fine here. Anna's also decent. So if we still have the Junkrat, which seems fine because against, once again, Deathball, but this Widow's going to be uncontested.
Pressure that.
So if I were your Reinhardt, he needs to just kind of
If that's
back up
going
and
on the
line of
Widow?
sight, wait for them to drop down,
Junkrat.
She's
and then
retreating.
move to
I'm
contest
hoping
them.
one of them comes
Going up into this choke is awful.
down so I can hook him.
She's on catwalk now.
Whoops.
Shit. This is rough. Alright, get the Ryan.
Ryan's discorded.
Sterben nicht.
Ryan one.
Discorded.
Ryan not one.
Low.
This is not going well. Pick a different
down.
target.
He's
Ryan's low.
anti-heal. Get him.
Ryan's
He's discorded and
one.
anti.
I can't get him. Can't get him behind there.
I got him. Junkrat. I mean,
He got res.
Heading back. Heading back.
I don't hear who's on what. Beaumont has dropped down again into the middle of the enemy team and should just like kind of fucking die for it.
oh! I got sniped as my tire came out and it didn't give me the control over
We
it.
just pulled him. the whole-
Okay, so you knew where the Widow was. Like, you dropped down onto point, and the only reason why you didn't get shattered there and die sooner is because you, I don't know if it was a reaction or just instinct, decided that I'm in a bad fucking position and you left. But you left in full view of where their Widow was. Like, there's... Also, you didn't retreat to a point where, like, even their Diva couldn't get you. So, like, I don't know what you were
The Widow's
thinking.
on high ground. I don't know if we're gonna be able to.
Oh shit.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my bad. I didn't like decisively pick the comp switch. And
Yeah.
We needed to.
You needed position,
go off
and
the
you guys gave it
Yeah.
entirely, and they just slowly choked you out. They didn't have to use any ultimates. They ended up using Diva Bomb, but like it was inconsequential.
Try.
Heal.
I don't know. I think Rez is better on defense, but
This is good regardless. Like the two best supports in this game complement each other really well right now. You have the Zenyatta because he has the best defensive ult in the game. He also has massive damage amplification and healing that doesn't give a fuck about being near a teammate. He also contributes not an insignificant amount of damage. Then you have Mercy, who pockets him really well. And with him in the back and the rest of the team forward, she has clear sight lines to sort of get in and out of danger with her Guardian Angel. Her Resurrect ability can completely swing a fight. Her damage boost is almost is highly recommended to win the Rein Zarya combo. Zarya Hanzo combo wars that are going on right now. Valkyrie builds really fast, and no one. It's like a better bongo or nano boost. Like anyone you could compare her to, she just kind of comes up better. You know, but any main tank could really work. It's the
especially
Lucio
in
that's
attack
kind of
where
like
you have
left
spawn
behind.
Advantage, you know.
Here we are
Left
again
or
with the
right?
Moira.
So then do you want me to switch when we second point?
Not necessarily.
Alright.
I have a hard time calling targets. I don't know.
Alright, let's discuss compositions here. They're running anti-dive. Very, very standard comp. They have someone to split focus the enemy team here instead of like a McCree. The Widowmaker is fantastic. Even if Widowmaker or McCree are fantastic here. It doesn't make a difference that much. Widowmaker is kind of preferred because the long sight lines and advantage she has over other hit scan gives her team the edge here, and she's another anchor point for the Mercy to jump to if she's playing split from the team. Our composition is like a hero or two away from the like meta King's Row composition. If this were a Mercy, that would be better, just to get through trance. Or if we wanted to, we could even drop the Zen for Lucio, because like we have an abundance of healing when everyone's in a straight line, but we're not really, and we have 3 people who could be in a straight line. But like we also want to take fights before their spam overcomes our healing resource. So Lucio to get us in and just like slambulance them would be ideal, and it would work really well against this team too, I think. That's why like the Diva is run instead of the Hanzo in these 3-3 setups, is to get us in during defense matrix to avoid this spam from doing anything to us. This spam from doing anything to us. And then once the Lucio has amped us in, we just start brawling. But instead we're playing a slower thing into... Okay, they're holding close. Okay. So in order to avoid spam, generally you want to come this way. Going this way is fine sometimes if you want to have access to this, but like you're opening yourself up going this way to both anyone who's sitting in this window, and anyone who's spamming from like this choke sight line. So you're kind of eating it from both sides right now, so your shield is likely to break faster than it normally would, and they're running a composition that's heavily dependent on breaking your shield, right?
Watch Junkrat spam.
Like look at this. Look at this.
Alright, there.
Look how slow we're being forced to move forward. Our shield is broken before we actually reach the choke. Their composition is going to work really well into ours. So instead of just fucking tanking their spam, what you should do is just try to line aside as best as possible by either going this way immediately and then hugging this corner as we go in to both avoid the window and the choke, or we just decide from the get-go we're going to come out this way. Right now, our Hanzo has nothing to do. He can come climb up this wall and get a good scout to see where they're positioned, what sort of comps they're running, where the Widow is, most importantly, and try to get a pick.
We gotta try and break the shield.
Instead, we're going backwards. Do I have that right? Alright, here we are. We're kind of spread up. We finally have our shield recharging. We're looking to push forward. We get as far as here, and then we decide to shield it again with our shield still at half. And we're just going to lose our shield again. What are we waiting for?
Yeah.
When you're running a Reinhardt on attack, you need to be aggressive. Like, there are a few situations where you have either shield pressure or you have a ranged advantage in which the Reinhardt has the privilege of kind of playing it slow. But particularly on Hanamura, that means you have control of this window and your team has some number of players already sort of controlling the high ground here above the Mega. And some other flanker is forcing this positioning to be sort of crossfired from choke. This is not such a case. We have our Hanzo playing back high ground, trying to win a shield war solo against all of this. And we need to take the initiative, and we're not. So instead, the rest of the team thinks they're doing something by spamming into the Orisa shield, which has like, what, an 8-second cooldown? No one cares. Our shield's still not back up. We're still not actually pushing in.
Our shield's broken.
We've broken our shield 3 times in under 45 seconds. That's just really poor discipline.
So is ours, though.
Their shield breaking actually doesn't matter. What are we shielding? Are we looking to go in right now? It doesn't seem like it. We were here, and we're going to rotate sort of perpendicular to where we actually want to go.
We might need our own Junkrat to break this point.
No, what you need to do is either swap to dive, or swap to a speedy comp to get in and punish their close positioning. Or just swap one thing for a flanker and hope the flanker can distract them long enough that you relieve pressure from the front, or the flanker gets a couple picks.
Just keeps dropping that shield fast.
Yeah, that's the problem. I don't know if we have enough.
Trying to keep
I mean,
charged
Hanzo's
up,
got
it's
a lot
just
of
not
burst
happening.
damage.
We won't be able to take care of the Widow, though.
Alright, so you're down.
Yeah, that's true.
We gotta get a pick.
You have no res. You're still eating spam.
So that's gonna be kind of rough. We're just gonna have to shoot through the gaps of the shield.
Look how much spam you're taking. They've built essentially 3 ultimates to your 1. You know, like, your indecision here is costing you, like, we haven't gotten a push yet. It's a minute some into the game, and we have not actually taken a fight. This is frustrating to watch.
More alt through their shield.
guess you could try that, but
You're going to get tired this fight. Shield is broken again.
I don't know.
Keep
That's
it
really
up.
gonna.
No,
We're
I do
shielding
hold
for
on.
with no
They can just pop
purpose.
their
Yeah.
shield and hold on that.
Like, why are we shielding here? Why are we even in this sight line? We're not looking to push. We're down. We're just eating resources and giving them ult charge.
All right, we gotta.
They're actually going to have 6
Have
ult
shatter.
before we actually get a push in.
Okay.
Can't get the
All right, let's try to break shield, drop shatter, and if that doesn't work, maybe let's try switching to dive.
That could work because their shield's so close. We can actually just walk through this shield and shatter.
At least I think maybe.
heal me,
farm.
heal me, heal me.
I'm down.
Shit.
I mean, I'm not down, but like my cooldown wasn't up.
I'm so low on P.
All right.
Yeah.
I-
That's
I
the
have
kind
my
of
ult.
consequence.
Can we pump the shield now as hard as you can?
I need a sec.
Go, go, go! Drop ult. Oh,
You have to know that she's going to place another one. Just wait for that. So we finally commit one push with 1:46 left. This is the first time we're actually making a concerted team-wide effort to come through this choke at 1:46. Not. We waste the shatter. Happens. Worse though is that they have all of this to work with. Right? Like, any two of these ults shut down a push in and of themselves.
Oh,
Oh, that son of a bitch.
okay.
yeah, you did
Okay,
as
I'll-
soon as it broke.
Just missed fade.
Just get out. Excuse me. Just get out.
I have my ult
Okay.
if you want to use
When
it.
Moira comes back, let's combo Grav and Hanzo at gate. We should be able to do that.
We've lost our
Alright.
shield again in a time we're not looking to push.
I'm gonna rally also.
Thankfully, the Junkrat
Before
hasn't
we
been
do
hitting
that,
spam.
All right, everyone's here, rallying. So rally, Grav Hanzo. All right,
All right.
Grape. Whenever
we're
you
gonna
see
break
your
the shield.
opportunity.
Once the next
Their
shield comes
Junkrat
up, we
easily could be back to like 50% ult
break
from
that
the
and
amount
pump
we're
it
just
through.
letting him.
Do it now. Break it, break, break,
Get
break
away.
it, break it, go
Break.
on, go on.
Broken.
I don't know if we have damage boost for Hanzo.
They
Oh.
trans through that.
Yeah. We need. Yeah.
They still have Mercy ult also. Sucks.
Mercy's down currently, but two down to make another
Alright, so your next push is likely fucked because they have these two.
push.
Okay, they're throwing by using this tire right now. This tire should have won them the game.
Where is it?
It still somehow gets someone.
When we're that close to spawn, probably just go.
Yeah, just come back to spawn. But like, even if it gets someone, you're still getting another push out of it instead of shutting down your eventual. You charge out of spawn and get here.
I guess I should have swapped dive, huh?
Yeah, we should have swapped for the last push.
Let me just pop my ult right through that barrier and try to get someone.
Yeah, just try. Yeah.
You have 10 seconds.
Oh,
We're not playing together. Grip gets picked. Tail as old as time.
oh, wow.
Holy shit.
I got popped
got
up by
a touch,
Junkrat
yeah.
and sniped in
The
the air.
Junkrat, despite having used ult 30 seconds later, 30 seconds earlier, almost has another one. Alright, so this is something that Team 40 struggled with a lot too, is actually making a decisive call on a choke like this on Hanamura. You have a lot of people just kind of waiting for someone else to do something. The tanks, if you're running Reinhardt and they're running like a spam comp like this, you need to find a way to get in. And that means that if their shield is here, you can speed into them or past them and then shatter the remaining people behind. Or you can line of sight them and do the same thing. You don't necessarily need the Lucio if they're playing this close. If they're playing here, your option is either to use your cooldowns to get you, then you probably do need the Lucio. And you need to either avoid them here and reset and take them on point over here. Alternatively, you can try going this way up to high ground, but there's a lot of spam incoming. Or you can speed past this using like a Diva or Zarya Bubbles or your Rhine Shield flickered to get in here and shatter past them once again. But keep in mind, if they're playing back here, they're much more likely to be able to play split, so you're only going to really be shattering their tanks. And if their Orisa is competent enough, you're not able to shatter her, since she will just fortify it. So, what could you do otherwise? Well, an Orisa comp into an Orisa comp isn't going to work here, since you both will be stalemating with shield break here, and you'll never be able to take an inch. And you'll be forced to move past your shield or its previous position to set one up even further up. And eventually you'll get to like this choke where you only have here. So you're only looking through like this small window for your spam, but you're contesting with a shield that not all of you can see. But everyone can see your shield. So the Orisa just doesn't work. Dive works here fine. I know this composition is called anti-dive, but honestly, it's just looking to play together with a whole bunch of damage, and I think it actually deals worse with dive than it does with traditional death ball. The spam and shield pressure really fuck over traditional death ball if they're not playing coordinated, or if they don't make the hero picks to really overcome the Orisa spam. So dive here, goal would be supports chill somewhere out here. Tanks, okay, supports are probably here at the start of the push, while the DPS are coming in through the window, and maybe the tanks as well. And so you have a Tracer who's essentially going to live behind them, with a Genji who's going to live up here, or a Pharah who's going to live kind of in this area with the Tracer behind them, or a Widow who's going to play up here and then around. Like, you're just looking to take over this space and force them away from choke, so your tanks can jump in. But we don't see that. Instead, we see us kind of banging our heads waiting for other people to do stuff. So that was really bad.
He's gonna play it though.
True. But I feel
We
like
have
there's
Li
reason to
Jiang,
play it.
Yeah.
and then I'll end it. Okay.
Boat mode, sorry. I wouldn't feel too bad about like not making the swap fast enough, because it's also on everyone to like tanks realize, oh, maybe we should have a diva instead of Zarya, maybe we should have Mercy. You could get the use
Are you speeding in on an orb?
Let's see if we can get to the next map. What are we waiting for? Players.
Or just beating them up, you know?
Alright, let's try that.
Death ball. I'm not doing this.
Yeah. Well,
Are we running dive
Death
tanks
ball.
or death ball tanks?
it bugs me.
Death ball tanks.
It's like hog.
I would prefer Zarya, but you can play Hog if you really want. Oni, please.
Ha ha ha. I'm Doomfist. Look at my fist.
Fisticuffs?
I guess you
Yes.
can play Doom if you want.
I'll try it since we're moving in.
Reaper, Junkrat would be good too. Hanzo would be fine also.
I'll try Doomfist first.
Okay.
Okay.
He can do some wonky stuff here.
Okay. Let's look at compositions. So Lakota, I think, recommended the Slambulance that we were running briefly, which is Lucio Moira Brig, Ryan Zarya, and the last hero was actually Diva. Now Diva plays an important role in the composition, because the things that prevent this Slambulance from working is a high rate of spam along either multiple sightlines or long sightlines. So it works best on a map like Control Center. It doesn't work, or like King's Row. It doesn't work too well as areas where like Junkrat and Pharah have lots of time before you engage their team. And generally the spam from both of those heroes is what slowly overcomes both your healing and your sense of which direction we need to push. So, to that end, the Diva is there to prevent that spam from being effective and acting as a foil for the enemy Pharah, who will otherwise build a barrage every push. So replacing it with Doomfist means you have more bully for their front line, and your focus should be from front to back, killing their Reinhardt first. So the Doomfist does that in some regard, while leaving you more open to an enemy Pharah. So it's kind of curious to see how it works. Doomfist is hard to get value out of sometimes. On a map a bit more open like this one, where an enemy Pharah is not only likely, but has a lot of room to work with, I'm hesitant to think that this will work out,
Alright, let's go.
just from looking at compositions.
Let's go.
You are giving up a
Let's go.
defensive ult in Zenyatta,
They
so their
should
grab
not be able
combo
to do
is
this
more
first.
effective than yours.
Alright.
Pretty good. Which
What
way
the fuck happened here?
Let's go. Let's go
Wait a
left
minute.
side.
Mercy.
They should not be able to boop us on this
Who's
one.
playing split as... They're playing split as fuck? Okay, we went straight to point.
Alright.
That's what I missed.
Pretty good. Which
Okay.
way they coming?
They're running something similar.
Okay, we shield bash into their bubble, which is
Oh.
bad.
Watch yourself. You're not the primary shield boss.
That should get
Design,
them
get the-
basically dead. We're giving up a whole bunch of space for a composition whose only goal is to slam into them. As soon as they, like, we were on position, we were on point first. Our goal should just be push up to this doorway and prevent them from coming in. If they want to come in, they have to come in through this narrow ass door, right? And their Pharah has to peek in from up here. As soon as they're even close to us, let's just speed into them and just kill their Reinhardt.
Pretty good. Which way they coming?
They're
Instead, we're just
running
back.
Something similar.
We are controlling half a point right now with our positioning, but our Reinhardt is further back. And by the time this camera switches,
yourself,
we're
you're not
back to
primary shield
controlling
boss.
like a quarter of
Get
the point.
design, get the
We're only controlling like this space right now. And they're not doing much either, but like we don't win extended engagements because we have a timer on our healing and we have a timer on their DPS. So we need to find an advantage before that happens.
Rhine, or at least a shield.
I was just trying to get a sneaky.
Oh, he's low.
Fair above.
There's a fire above. Do we have hit scan for that?
Oh,
or-
shit.
Charge.
Alright,
Yeah.
we lost.
It's just
We
me.
didn't recognize what our win condition was and how to execute it. Instead, we
Charge low.
waited for someone else to make a play,
Wow.
Zen's
oh
down.
my gosh, that was.
and their Pharah was the one who made it.
Yeah, Oni, can you get a go on hit scan?
Dein Teufel ist da.
Yeah, that works. All right, regroup.
Only
Alright,
need-
so we lost our Doomfist ult charge, which isn't that big of a deal. But we have Shatter coming up. I'm honestly surprised they're not closer to Barrage. They're going to have a Valkyrie. We did not do much healing there.
Mercy
Okay.
damage boost.
So ultimates are about equal. If we can leverage the Shatter here in a
Alright.
sec,
Possibly.
should be fine.
Too late.
Careful,
We need.
Florian, you're low, and the fire's
No,
behind.
we need the healing.
Alright. So, against their composition of Pharah, coming in Coast is detrimental. Coast, outside of the first push of the game, is likely only to be utilized by flankers who have enough mobility to either not be recognized or escape should boops come their way. So we're kind of forced to come in main. If the enemy team was better, they would be holding you at this choke. This is the choke point that you want to hold people at when you're running shield comp. Similarly, when you're running dive, if you can wait for them to come through this choke and then collapse upon their backline, that's ideal. Their Pharah had a decent idea of trying to get some additional poke in and has built additional ult charge from doing so. The rest of their team is just calmly waiting for you on point. They might be able to meet you here if they decide to wake the fuck up. I don't think they will. If you're worried about coming through this choke point, you can rotate through the mega here or come out through the high ground here, which is generally the preferred. Or you can play dive and not worry about it and start splitting them. So we're just waiting here. Notice that again?
Too late.
Careful,
We need.
Florian, you're low,
So here we are. We're
and the fire's behind.
almost
we
in
need-
courtyard. We're in courtyard. We're effectively here. The only one challenging us is a Pharah who's being forced back. What do? We back up. We linger. We linger. We linger.
Alright, we want to be on speed here.
We want to
Let's go.
be going in.
Let's push on him.
I
Got
need to
Shatter.
go.
We are afraid of them. So we have to realize that their front line needs to be afraid of us. We have the ability to go in whenever we want on Lucio. We have the better healing for them. We have the better CC for our Reinhardt versus Reinhardt with this. Like, the way they win is by stalling us out here, and their fire just starts getting picks on people. Or their Hanzo comes in and starts getting picks on people. Like, we need to slam.
Watch the
okay.
Pharah.
We need to welcome them to the
Try and
jam.
make space to get the
We gotta-
Pharah. She's leaving.
Instead, we've lost shield against a composition that's not particularly spam heavy. That's how long we've lingered. Okay? That's not acceptable.
Okay. Backing down.
We need to
Push
be on
center now.
speed. We need to be pushing into them.
I guess we look to push
Yeah,
now.
alright, well, we're in.
We
Speed.
waste bubble here, so our Reinhardt is having trouble being aggressive. We're not communicating the stun into Shatter that we have available. He's using Barrage from Narnia. He's off my screen using Barrage. He still gets a kill.
Oh.
Gets 2 kills.
Oh, I missed that. I'm sorry.
Shit.
We didn't take a push there. At no point were we on point. It's the systemic problem that occurred on Hanamura, where like we don't understand what our comp is necessarily trying to do. And I realize I'm both belaboring a point and being okay. You don't want to walk that way.
Missed that.
You
I'm
were almost
sorry.
out. All right, so here we could regroup by going this way, Onizuka. Instead, we don't, and we just we tease ourselves with going through this. Look how close we are to this threshold, and we decide let's walk all the way back.
Grape, I don't know, would you maybe... I don't know,
It's
you
the
don't
same
have
thing.
to
It's the
Grape.
same thing we saw in Hanamura. It's the same sort of thing we saw in bits and pieces on King's Row. Is a bunch of the team is waiting for the rest of the team to do stuff, when instead you could be the one making the plays,
left, go
taking
left.
position. Okay. So the far, thankfully, okay, this team is not communicating at all. So you went this way. The Pharah has seen you the whole way. Their Rhine is still shielding here. Their entire team is still here. You're actually going to get position on the point. Good for you. If you can take up and into them and start taking away point before they notice, that's fantastic. Their Pharah is actually in a terrible position. Like, you're close to high noon, you kill her. She has no real assistance up there. She has no rotation. She has to come across this in the entire map to even prevent you from going coast. So this coast rotation ends up being good. I know I said earlier, like, coast rotations are bad. They've positioned themselves in such a way where it's really good.
Oni's low, trying.
Who's low?
We have hesitated here again, and we've used our damage orb. Why? We're close enough to ult anyway that we don't need this damage orb. We're going to need healing orb in a second, especially if our goal to brawl is ever realized. We need to push into them.
McCree. Yo, McCree.
So now the Pharah is back in position.
Watch the Pharah's gonna be.
We're kind of split. We're not. Our high noon was not communicated, and I don't know if it'll get the Pharah anymore. What I would have done is either just fuck them. Like, as soon as we turn this corner, we're gonna speed boost into them and use sound barrier.
Coming in right
Instead, we're just lingering.
Nice.
We're just waiting. No, that's not nice. We're gonna lose.
That dragon.
You can't use sound barrier to counter a grab combo. With Han's ult, it just deals too much. You're gonna lose too many people. It has to be Zenyatta, which will bring me back to the point why you can't linger. You have to take a fight. We haven't done that. What are you doing?
Oh, that was bad. Oh, damn it.
Okay.
Oni just jump.
Yeah, just, yep.
Gotta get out.
Yeah. I don't think I'm touching. Yeah, it's gone.
We really didn't take a fight this game. Like, we were there, and they were fighting us, but I didn't really see us fight back. They had like twice as many shatters as we did. we shielded much more damage, but like we're just lingering around in no man's land when our goal should just be to clap them. Like, let's go.
All right, they're probably
I
gonna
can't by
Yeah.
myself.
Okay, so
Yeah, either get a Widowmaker for the Pharah,
Probably
run a
switch to
Pharah of your own,
dive
or
something
just
like that.
ignore them. Alright,
You want to go
I guess okay.
Just
Stay
get
on.
more damage?
We gotta
Then
stay
you go
us.
past it.
okay, so they're running still ambulance as well now. The difference being a Hanzo versus McCree. Now, McCree is at a disadvantage here, in that his Fan the Hammer has fall off while Storm Arrow does not. His ultimate is worse, particularly for comboing. He has additional CC, and maybe you can leverage that.
The shields.
Yeah, we just
Alright, so the goal here with both comps should be to come up to White Room and kind of fight them here. Neither team seems to be doing that. In fact, the Lucio seems to be splitting off. If you can get position on point, maybe that could work
go
too.
right up onto them.
They're going right side.
Okay, so we have position on point, but we're not taking positioning in reference to where they are. We see, like, here we are on point, we can line of sight them here, but our goal should still just be pushed the fuck into them. Like, if our shield is instead, like, if they were coming White Room, if we thought they were coming White Room, we come up to here, we have a much better position. This can work, but we need our Rhine up here as well. Set up this line of scrimmage.
They're up there.
We're shielding, but we're not taking space.
Up here with me.
In fact,
Okay.
we're giving space to them. We are actively backing up and giving them room on point when they're coming through this choke point. And that is
Push on 'em.
massively detrimental.
Speed boost. Run stun.
Finally do something. Boat mode is too aggressive here. Deathlord is too aggressive here. Brigitte should be following her Reinhardt. Her Reinhardt should not be... Like, Brigitte needs to play off her Reinhardt, not the other way around. You should die in 2 swings here. And your Moira should be either forced back or die as well.
Ryan's half.
He should be swinging. He should just be swinging on you.
Make the shield and hit him.
Ryan
Yes,
team
sir.
down. Nice.
Ryan's still low.
I'm low.
There we
He's
go.
down.
Split. Okay.
Like, I can't reiterate again how, like... I'm going to reiterate how, like, risky this was. See, it's slower. So here they are. They have they're trying to get position on the point. We kind of just give it to them. We're backing up our McCree to a point where he can't assist us with flashbang. It's a team that cannot dive us. They're a little bit split. If McCree is instead playing around pillar, we can actually react to this Zarya a little bit better. We start pushing up into them. Their girl goes for a stun and should be focused. If McCree's playing further up, this flashbang on her kills her. We don't do it. Instead, we counterstun their Reinhardt, which seems okay, but it's harder to focus him out when we're running McCree than they are when they're running Hanzo. Like I said, that Brig was free. We force him back. He's at half health. We are now playing super aggressive, which is good, but our Reinhardt has not yet quite joined us in that regard. If we were going to stun the Reinhardt and we know their cooldown for their bubble, which I didn't watch out for, but you guys should be, we could have stunned, or we could have charged someone in this duration. We did not. Our Reinhardt is now finally within the 3 closest to the enemy Reinhardt. Swinging on someone. Boat mode's in a position, like, this shield doesn't do very much. It's only blocking, like, 1 source of damage right now. They are getting excellent value out of their Moira. Their Hanzo has free reign over whom she wants, but they're forced back into this corner here. And we are low. If this Reinhardt had started swinging on us, that would have been such an issue. Instead, he holds up his shield to prevent one person, and he just kind of stagnates his death. Swing. Swing. He finally swings, in conjunction with the bubble, which gets broken immediately. And they lose this fight from here. But like, boat mode is like boat mode could just die here. Instead, they shield. Boat mode, you're playing too aggressive. You're doing it on Junkrat. You're doing it on Brig.
I'm low.
There we
He's
go.
down.
Split. Okay.
Up,
Hunt.
right side,
Cap and
zero
push. Cap and push. Cap and push. They're down their Reinhardt. You're at full health. Go forward. Go forward. Go forward. Go forward.
signature with them.
Please go forward. There's a major disconnect between half the team and the other half of the team. Hope this visualizes it.
I'm on her. I'm on her with you.
If you have an advantage, push it. If you don't have an advantage, find one.
Push up. Push up.
So,
Capped, right?
excuse
Okay.
me.
You should pull back.
All right. I'm backing up. Backing up. Backing up.
Why are we backing up? Why are we backing up? So what we can do, we can hold this stroke. They have to come through here or they have to come through up here. Like, as soon as they come in here, we can set up for a stun and shatter, or we can blow up the Reinhardt, or we can speed into them. If we give them this room to come through this choke, suddenly they have flank options that we might not be aware of. They can set up their own stun shatter more easily because they have better information of where everyone is. They'll have a better angle for it. And their spam coming through here, we won't have as much to line of sight, and we're forced to give up space. We can just literally hold them at this doorway.
Yeah, we'll hold.
I gave there.
Like here is actually not that bad of a choice. It's probably the second best that you can do, but you can see the room that you're just kind of acquiescing to them. I don't know what our Lucio is doing there.
I'm gonna everyone here. I'm gonna rally. Team up. Everyone get together. Rallying.
But we've lingered here so long that we are letting their Junkrat blow our shield up. So now we don't have anywhere to really go. We have two options. We can either go into them, which is what I've been advocating from the start, or we can continue to like play this kind of like dance off here, in which case our shield will break and suddenly their Junkrat will have free access to our entire team. And here comes their shatter.
Oh, I'm stunned. Oh, I'm really stunned.
That's what the shield war lets you
I
do.
didn't mean to do that.
So we should lose this fight. They got a fantastic shatter on us.
Oh.
And we're gonna build halfway to another one.
Hold as long as you can. Okay, back up, back up, back up.
Probably should have died on point.
I didn't know if we could touch. I'm coming back.
Okay, so what they should be doing is also holding you here, especially since they have the Junkrat to just spam across this line into your spawn. This Junkrat should make your life living hell,
Orion.
which is why traditionally you run the Diva here.
Everyone's here.
Ryan. When I blinked and you...
Typically you run the Diva here. So they're giving you all this space. Look how far back the Reinhardt is playing, not taking anything. You can take all of this for free if you want. You have the option of like rotating your... having people chill here until you're ready to push in, rotating your McCree to high ground and high nooning. McCree is going to have increasingly more and more problems fighting this type of team comp. He was brought in for a possible Pharah or a tank war, but they're turning it into a shield war, essentially, and they have a better DPS for these close quarter situations. Both in terms of ultimate and shield pressure and kind of damage in general. Speeding in a Junkrat is way scarier than speeding in a McCree. So I look to swap off that hero. Other compositions are about the
Let's go
same,
upstairs.
but they have the support
side.
ult to crush you here. So
Their
this
Junkrat's
DPS
main
ult has to
solo.
overcome there.
Alright.
So they should, like, they see you rotate here, they should already have their Reinhardt, like, fucking up here. Because now that you have positioning that they have to, like, line of sight you on point, they could also just kind of, like, wait on point and line of sight you as best as possible because they have control. So any sort of stall on point benefits them more than it benefits you. You're the one who needs to go in fast in reality, even though both your comps are equipped to go in fast. Their Junkrat gives them the poke advantage.
Alright.
Honestly, if I was them, I would use tire now and speed the rest of you in. The rest of them into you. So they tire and speed in. They're going to build 1, 2, 3, 4 ults in the meantime. They probably don't need to use this because the tire is going to kill some number of you. And they win the fight.
Do is push on him.
Tire. Tire.
Ryan stun.
That was the quickest high noon I've ever seen.
Ryan low.
Alright, instead they end up using Beat, which will win them this fight as well. They should not need to use any additional ultimates from here. However, just judging from this team's discipline, since one person press Q, someone else is going to, I expect both our Lucio to beat unnecessarily, and their Junkrat to ult.
Alright, they use Lucio.
Junk's on the left side. We can probably get
It
hit
heals.
next. Shit. Yeah, he stacked a lot of ults.
Oh,
They used 5, we used 1, 2, 3. In a losing fight.
I guess I was hoping Rally was gonna help.
How?
That was our
Alright,
round.
they swapped off Far. We want to go Hanzo again?
They never
maybe?
had Pharah.
Oni? Or whatever you're comfortable with.
Got Shatter.
I
Okay.
think Junkrat would be really good, but I understand if you don't want to play.
Reading some spam on the shield.
Alright, we
We're hesitating and choke.
Oh,
That girl should just. Oh, don't knock her away. No, she was dead. She was dead. And you gave her a free out.
Alright,
Look how aggressive this Brig is. Look how far away from her team this Brig is. If she gets stunned and then swung on by your team, like.
oh, got moved.
Then you just combo her without thinking.
Alright, let's heal up and speed through.
Go. I got orb.
That's a good decision to heal up and speed through. The problem is, like, you've already lingered here for like 5 to 10 seconds when you could have just done that from the get-go.
Alright, let's go.
And we're kind of slow.
Brigitte's up.
Kill this Brig. This Brig is throwing.
Yep. Her shield's down. We get Ryan's next.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ult. If we can break Ryan's shield.
You already broke their shield. We've still not actually taken a fight. 2 people have pressed Q, and we've just kind of been like, all right, let's see if anyone gets a pick.
Okay.
We got one. We got 2 with that.
Zarya.
Oh, okay.
We're gonna kill either. Killed 1.
It's down. Next.
Team wasn't communicated with it, so we weren't like ready. It seems. Push in. We finally pushed into them.
Watch
Nice.
fire.
Split up. Okay.
Okay, we can still push this. I'm gonna ult. Fuck
Yeah,
it.
no, you're good.
I don't see where it is. I'm
Right on
stuck
point.
in
Oh, nice.
Get Zarya. Zarya
Fuck.
low.
I'm coming back.
She's down.
Okay, we won that fight,
Alright, I'm
but we were like already winning that fight, and we blew additional ults. So they're gonna have. They're gonna have double tank ult, which is rough as fuck for us.
Yes, we gotta.
Can we push up at all, or they? No, they're all back. Alright.
They're right around the corner.
Yeah,
Probably get up a little
they've
bit.
probably got 2 solid pushes. They're gonna push up hard on this one.
I would stay like right around here. Let's hold.
If they've been keeping track of your ultimates, they should be able to win off this next push. If they haven't been keeping track of their ultimates and they suspect that they're down, they take a quick fight to try to blow as many ultimates as possible, and I mean a quick fight, using nothing, and then they come in with the last push with an ultimate advantage.
Yeah,
Right
just
around
so
here.
we can keep eyes on stairs.
Said they're not. They're going.
Push right
The
side.
way they're going, they're only going to get one chance at this, which is fine because they have advantage. We're playing split. Notice how the whole team is coming through this way, and we seem to see that, but we still have 2 people off on the side. If they're speeding into us, what we want to do as friendly Lucio is speed our team back away so we can readily absorb their aggression.
Watch yourself. Back up a little step.
They're coming through main. Okay.
They beat
they're coming.
in. They time their aggression with
Get this Ryan's low.
aggression.
Ryan's low shit.
We're split as fuck now. We have 1 tank over here, 1 tank over here, a healer over here, a healer here. We've lost 1. I have no idea where our DPS is. This is not looking good for us. They're shielding something. Like neither of our shields are doing anything right now.
Like a ping pong ball.
He needs to be in here swinging. We get 1 with the pin. That's great. Our Reinhardt is in the middle of them. Seems fine.
Zarya, burn Zarya. She's so low.
But they overcome us. Yeah. Not only did we over ult in the fight previous, our coordination on this one was like really bad. We didn't have good focus. We didn't have a good understanding of what they were going to do and how we were going to play against it. So they beat in and speed it into us. We need to speed the fuck away from that. And we need to be united when they come in.
Point.
but we weren't.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
So a bunch of
Good
ults,
try.
bunch of
I'm not.
coordination
I
issues
got
once
rally,
again.
so I couldn't go any faster.
Compositional a little bit, but
Should we switch?
it's less the comp problem. It's less that we're building bad comps. It's more we're not playing those comps to their end goals.
Like, comp here?
So
Yeah.
excuse me.
Yeah, maybe let's try
So Diva, Pharmacy.
yeah, I'll go soldier, I guess.
Are we keeping right?
So compositionally, we are at a disadvantage. I think. We don't have the Zenyatta for damage boost. Diva will measure up well against a number of things that they're bringing, sure. But in the tank battle, our Rhine is going to have issues because he's going to eat spam from their projectiles while our soldier is kind of doing minimal shit. Soldier's in a really kind of bad position right now. He doesn't like the shields that are present. He doesn't like the armor that's being given away by Brig. He isn't ineffective at ranges that Hanzo can still work at, and does less damage than Hanzo. Additionally, particularly for this comp, the enemy Pharah should be playing at ranges where the soldier's fall off damage completely mitigates his ability to properly pressure her. And so if the Pharah ever gets positioned, the soldier's going to have issues. Lucio Mercy's fine. We're getting to point fast. Might have been better with more of a death ball. If we're taking it, like we should have position here because we have Lucio for the initial fight. Especially if our Reinhardt charges out, which he doesn't seem to be doing while theirs does, so that might actually be an issue. They have better ults in general. He'll be almost onto the Diva to prevent their Pharah from doing shit. Our Pharah should be mostly uncontested. There's not a lot of ground cover to work an enemy Pharah against. But our Pharah is either going to have to take heals from our main healer Mercy, which leaves our Lucio more on heals than speed, or our Pharah is just not going to have a shit ton of heals. Whereas they, in a pinch, can leave the orb on their Pharah and play the Mercy on the ground.
Yeah,
So I'm
that's
kind of interested how this one plays out, but I feel like our soldier just won't be effective.
I don't know, it's kind
Watch
of
fire boot.
Alright, they have their own pharmacy. Pharah's half. She's healed.
Hanzo's already on point.
Alright, so they're playing split already. Their Hanzo on the flank seems fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Their Zarya being over there too is an issue. Their Zarya needs to be constantly aware of where this guy is. And you are too aggressive. You should just be burned by their Zarya immediately. But she's not currently pressuring you, so that's an issue. So there's a disconnect from where the off tank is playing consistently and where the main tank is playing consistently. You guys should be moving more as a unit.
Pharah's half.
Zara right side.
Fire down.
Mercy's low, Mercy's one. Got her.
Get on
Down
point.
two.
Not
One
over.
down. Alright, we're up one.
I'm on Hanzo. Hanzo
We're
on
up two.
point. Hanzo down. Get this.
Hey, we worked out.
Zarya's low. Zarya's one.
Ryan's down.
Cool. We're good.
Our aggressive Diva wasn't punished and got a pick. Good.
Where's this?
Okay, so now they're gonna have issues coming in. Since a Pharah with position on point is a disaster to deal with.
I don't like running around here.
They have two bad options. One is going this way. Cross bridge, they have to worry about boops from two different characters and just being held here forever. While eating shield damage. They could also go this way, which is equally bad, because this narrow choke benefits Pharah a lot. But it is probably their best bet. Because coming across bridge with this composition is kind of suicide, especially without the Diva to eat boop from Pharah. Or Widowmaker, or any sort of hit scan to properly keep her in check. Alternatively, they could just swap to dive and run dive into this with like a Widow or a Pharah of their own And I think that would behoove them pretty well.
Yeah, I did that wrong.
So let's see their options. They go left side. Without
right side.
hesitation, they go left side.
White room.
How long would it
Just watch the
have
fire
taken
flank
us to
behind us.
decide that we wanted to go left?
Probably
Our
a
team
couple
rotates there well enough. Soldier here is in a very precarious position. There is a big mistake here in that like our tanks have rotated. That's good. Our DPS are slow to do so. Particularly these two could easily be up here taking this position as during the rotation and taking the space given to them to get more easily applied poke. And we'll see as this Farah comes over that our Farah is in no position to either contest her in the air along with her soldier or contribute to the spam down into white room.
It's gonna happen in probably
Keeping
about
an eye on
10
it.
seconds.
Like we're doing nothing with two characters right now. We're in no positional advantage from being back here.
Oh, nice. She's slow. She's half. Whatever.
Meanwhile, their Farah and now their Mercy are holding off 3 people up here. So they have an effective 4v3 here. Okay. So we could lose this game here. Or this battle here.
No, we didn't get
You're
her.
on point.
She backed up.
Our Ryan charges that's a Diva Bomb?
Point.
Far's on point. Far's half.
With their Mercy. Okay,
Far's
it's random.
still. Okay, got it.
I got Zen. I'm coming back.
Alright, they
on
lose
point.
this.
Zarya,
Zarya's
she's
one.
low. Zarya's one.
Run.
Cool.
She's just
Hanzo,
suicide.
White room.
Jump off. It's a good play.
Eyes on Hanzo.
It's disciplined.
Eyes.
Oh, you
Ugh.
jumped off. Okay.
Oh, well.
Alright.
Yeah, I suspect they'll go the same way. They're close to ultimates.
Mercy. No.
They can turn stuff here.
Got shattered.
They're being
They're
indecisive
looking
though.
white again.
They're
They're actually going bridge
They're going white room. Alright.
because they have Hanzo ults.
Yeah, pharmacy's
Ryan's
going.
left
Oh,
side.
they're left.
We gave them that position.
They're left. They're all left. They're on the bridge.
How do we not know that they're left?
Looks like they're looking.
So like here we see them basically coming left from like 3 different people see them. 1, 2, 3, 4 actually see them coming or angling for bridge.
again.
They're going for a boot.
How are we confused about which way they're going?
White room. Alright.
You see the shield here. How is anyone
Yeah,
confused?
pharmacy's
Ryan's left
going.
side.
Oh, they're left. Dude.
They're left. They're all left. They're on the bridge.
Zen's
Zarya's
one.
down.
Got him.
Zen's down.
Hanzo's alone.
Shit. Got me.
Ryan's up on point alone.
How does that work?
That's fine.
Damn it, I hit the Mercy
Understand.
once.
Our healers
we're
are
fine,
down.
we're fine.
Both of ours.
Far on
Watch
point
white.
alone. Yeah. Oh, Far Mercy over here. Get Mercy. Get Mercy. Zen next. Push up. Get him.
Try not to lose back here.
Farah's on point.
Some bad communication here, but their insistence on coming over bridge kind of cost them a lot, and suddenly we have the ult advantage to crush it.
We're good. We're good.
Shatter that guy.
Oh, we're fine.
Ryan's
Yeah,
charging
you
in.
guys win.
Oh, what a
Okay,
hit.
so that was a bit better. I don't think it was really anything coordination-wise, or I don't think it was anything coordination or communication-wise that really won you that point. It was because that didn't look good. I think it was just like they made a bad decision to come over bridge, to which you could just boop them off. And the first fight came down to like them not punishing some parts of your aggression, and you kind of like out mechanics them. What I want you to work on, for each individual here, is boat mode and grape. You both need to work on not being allergic to shields and taking like useful angles. We saw it a couple times on your Junkrat play and your Brigitte play boat mode that you were kind of in the face of the enemy team. And you died a lot on the Junkrat doing so. The Brigitte, they weren't focusing you, so you got away with it more readily, but realize that both of those aggressive plays ought to be punished going forward in the future. Support ults. Grape, similarly, you're kind of allergic to shield, and sometimes it got you shattered when you didn't need to. or eating additional poke and eating additional healer resources that you don't need to. We need to coordinate our ults better across as a team. I saw multiple times where we're using support ults unnecessarily. We're using them in a ditch effort to try to control the point at like 35% for like no reason, or when 4 of our members are down. Coordinating ults is important, but we'll try to keep the team into rationing them. Understanding why our team comp is working is partially on the supports. Particularly for that Slamvulence comp we saw on Control Center and Gardens? Night Market, excuse me. Coordination with your Lucio, with amps speeding us in and taking a fight is most important. Orion, I want you to work on not using your shield when you don't have to. We saw it on Hanamura. Your shield broke something like 4 times in the first like minute 15, which is of huge consequence because you suddenly don't have the ability to actually take space. There are other times when you're kind of giving space to the enemy team. As the main tank, your goal a lot of the time is to allow your team positioning and options coming into the fight. And so the more aggressive you can and the more aggression you can put out while limiting the enemy team's options without getting punished, that's what you want to do. Reinhardt, it's important to set up on corners and try not to give space. We saw it a lot on King's Row, where we're just kind of backing up through streets instead of taking a fight on point and contesting the point. Win or lose, that payload goes nowhere. That's something you and Grape can coordinate together with. So long as you guys are playing together, you can make sure that even if you lose the fight, they get no payload distance, so you get maximum time off the clock. Because really, you're not looking to win any individual fight, you're looking to win the map. It doesn't matter if you lose 9 fights in a row if they only get 5 meters over those 9 fights. And that's an extreme example, but if you're properly able to take clean fights and win them sort of slowly, they're forced to go back and regroup, and depending on respawns and what sort of composition you run, like it's much easier to stagger the payload for long fucking periods of time when you're running dive and tanks can walk to point, contest it, jump away when they're low, someone else gets on, jumps away when they're low, the first person is now healed, they can jump back on, stall for a bit, jump away, and suddenly the payload just doesn't move. That's called cycle contesting. That's what dive can do between Winston, between Diva, between Tracer. And it's really kind of frustrating as a death ball to try to play into that. But you can do the same thing with your death ball comp by making sure that, okay, here's the choke we're fighting. We're fighting here. This payload's not moving. Once we lose this, we get another contest here at second corner. Once we lose that, we can get another final contest, hopefully, before they capture point on second point, King's Row. Something like that. Similarly, for third point, okay, they're giving us space, let's push up, let's get as much poke in as possible. We'll fall back to first corner as they approach. We don't fall back any further than that, because if they win a fight from there, then we're coming out staggered for their capture of third point. Something like that. I noticed you guys didn't play 2CP this time around. I don't know why. 2CP, oh, I'm sorry, you played Hanamura. Am I missing one? We played King's Row, which is hybrid. We played Hanamura, which is 2CP. Yeah, we only played 3 maps. We didn't play pure payload. Okay. I think last map, the last one I watched, we didn't play. We played 2 of one and not 1 of the other. I forget what it was. Ideally, you have scrims for more than like an hour. If you can set up like a 2-hour scrim block as a minimum, that'd be ideal. So we can sort of get the rust off, work on communication wholly, and actually get like some good reps in. Onizuka, a couple other times your ults were kind of errant. In general, it's hard for me to say when DPS so much of your effectiveness comes from your individual positioning, which I wasn't entirely looking out for. If you're generally with the team, that's fine. There are a few champions and opportunities for you perhaps to work on sort of like a flanking position, setting up a crossfire, which may not have been showcased here just because of team compositions and sort of how the fights ended up coming through. Like if you're running Hanzo, you're probably staying more with the team. If you're running a Widowmaker, you have a little bit more opportunity to flank. If you're running Tracer, you should almost be on perma flank, you know? So I don't really have much to say for you, Onizuka. If you can work on your team communication, particularly in an instance right now when you're far, you're playing kind of the scout for the team. It will be your job to let the team know which way they're rotating. If you have that information, Hanzo can also do that by crawling onto high ground and letting people know. Compositional changes and rotations could easily be communicated from your position from the heroes I've seen you play so far. Okay, so team-wise, work on taking fights cleanly, taking fights decisively, not giving up space if you don't need to, pushing with an advantage, realizing why something is or is not working, and communicating ults. I'm not super worried that you guys aren't able to track ults right now, because you don't seem to be aware of what ultimates you have in the bag, in your back pocket right now. So it leads us to blowing 4 ults on a fight after the first ult basically won us the advantage, and so the rest of ults could be held waiting for them to blow something to try to overturn our advantage. Instead, a bunch of people just kind of press Q in concert, and we kind of either win or lose off of that, and there's no real evaluation as to why, essentially. Once you have that down and you understand how quickly your teammates are building ults, you can start realizing that, oh, I was Zarya, I was at decent charge, but I died like halfway into the fight. There's Zarya, who was at similar charge, who stayed up the entire fight, will have higher ult charge than me. So you can be like, okay, I'm at 70 to grab, they're likely to have their grab, because their Zarya has been generally more effective and alive for longer. So once you work out your ult situation, you'll start to learn how to predict theirs, generally from for predicting your counterpart, and then one person will get the sense of being like, okay, I can now count on 2 ults or 3 ults or 4 ults right now. And you'll work on communication that way. People just need to talk. People need to talk and start trusting each other and start taking fights together and organized. So that's what I hope to see the next time one of these is posted. If you enjoy these or have any questions, let me know. I can try to help you guys out. Okay?